WTF, welcome to Funkatopia. Man, I hope you guys are doing good. Man, I am your host, Mr. Christopher, and this right here is my co-host that puts the bam in flamboyant, puts the thud in thunder. Give it up for Mr. Michael Bland.
Yes! Indie face! Yes, in the face! I didn't know you had me queued up, man.
I always got you queued up, man.
That was exciting. I'm easy.
Oh man, yeah, man. This is gonna be really, really fun tonight.
Yeah.
Listen, let me just say this. Welcome to Funkatopia Live. Again, for those of you just joining us, especially if you're joining us tomorrow on iHeartRadio and Spotify and Apple Music and all that stuff. Welcome. I am your host, Mr. Christopher. This is the illustrious, the man, Mr. Michael Blantz, my co-host.
Yeah, come on with it, man. On the serious side.
Yeah, come on now.
On the serious side.
On the serious side. Tonight, we welcome one of the most celebrated drummers on the planet. He's been drumming with Tower of Power for decades and only just retired last year, but his work is renowned and revered by many of the greats, and he's considered to be one of the greatest, including being on the Rolling Stones list of one of the best 100 drummers of all time. I think it's like 46 or 47.
Absolutely.
Should be way higher.
Even there, he's getting robbed. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So it's a super special night here on Funkatopia Live as we have two amazing drummers in the house tonight. We not only have the baddest drummer on the planet, Mr. Michael Bland, as the Funkatopia co-host, but also our very special guest this evening, the incomparable one and only David Garibaldi in the house.
You can't whoop Dave. You can't whoop him, man. Dave Garibaldi.
Hey, what's
Garibaldi.
up,
You're frightened every drummer who you meet.
Garibaldi. This is cool. This is really cool. I'm a little disappointed that I'm only in the 40s.
Yeah, that's what we were saying. Like, you got robbed, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it's kind of a bad deal.
Man, it is an honor to have you here, man, for sure.
My pleasure.
So I kind of want to get into it a little bit. You know, obviously, predominantly your career has been with Tower of Power. But I think one of the questions that Michael and I had asked, I'm not sure if Michael, you asked or if I did, what were you doing before Tower of Power and how did you actually connect with them? We'll start there.
I was in the military. I was in the Air Force Band.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was during the Vietnam time. And so there was, the draft. And so I enlisted in the Air Force so I wouldn't have to go to Vietnam. And I ended up in the Air Force Band and did that for 3.5 years. And then got out, came back to the Bay Area and started, getting back into things and met the guys in Tower, Mike Clark, a bunch of other folks. And, there it is.
Now, in the Air Force Band, are you actually sitting behind a full set of drums or are you just doing just snare, just bass? Or is this
we had like all kind of different ensembles. We had a really nice symphonic band. It was really fantastic, and the marching band, all of that, did all the military duties and all that stuff. We had small groups. We had an excellent jazz big band. So, it was a time when, everybody was in the military. So, the band was full of all these really young dudes who could really play. And it was a lot of fun. I learned a lot.
Is it possible that Steve Gadd had the same trajectory somewhat as you?
He was in the Army band. I think it was the Army band.
Okay. I was going to say, I saw him in a suit, like in a uniform and playing. Yeah. I was wondering if maybe you guys had that in common, but I got you. I see.
No. Air Force Band.
Yeah. So, as far as Tower of Power is concerned, I have to ask, this is a little bit more current of a photo than we're going back, but that's okay. The style that they had, was it a style of music that you guys were into or that you were into, or did you really have to, make some kind of adjustments to play the style of music? Or
it was kind of sort of a, just an instant match, really. I mean, growing up here in the Bay Area, we had pretty diverse music scene here. We have, all the there was all the rock stuff, Fillmore and all that, psychedelic sound, Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane. But then there was all the funk too, over here in the East Bay where I lived, the grew up, there was a lot of funky music, Sly is the Family Stone. Sly was on the radio. He was a DJ on KSOL, and he would do all the station bumpers, and he had a show at night. People would call in, Sly, can I dedicate, and all that stuff. And, it was really, really cool. So, Tower was, when I first heard them, I was playing in a club in Oakland. I had just gotten out of the military. I was subbing for a drummer, and Mike Clark and I were the subs. And the band was called the Reality Sandwich. And they were a bunch of crazy people, drug dealers, all kind of crazy stuff. And so a couple of the Tower guys came in, the horn players came to, they would come and sit in. And one night they came in and they said, hey, we're looking for a drummer. Would you be interested in coming to check it out? And so they were playing at a place called the Keystone Corner in San Francisco, over in the North Beach district of San Francisco. And so I went and checked them out. And it was like they were doing like really obscure cover songs that you would only know about if you were a musician. And then they were doing original music that they were arranging. They were arranging everything, all this stuff that they were doing. They had a sound, Rocco had a vibe already, the bass player Rocco. And I mean, it was just, they had a vibe, then. I mean, they're new. They had won a Battle of the Bands at the Fillmore. Fillmore used to have this thing on Tuesday nights called Sounds of the City. And it was a Battle of the Bands. And so the Tower guys won this, and they won a record deal on one of Bill Graham's record labels.
Wow.
And that was we got signed to Bill, Bill's label. Bill was our first manager. And
what a start.
Yeah. So, he was putting us on all these shows and, really putting us out there. I mean, it was pretty amazing. We did all that Aretha Franklin Live at the Fillmore. We did that show. We were open to all that stuff with the CBS Record Convention with Aretha, bunch of stuff. Last night at the Fillmore. I mean, tons of cool stuff,
Wow. Now, were any of the members of Tower of Power from your previous Air Force band? Or did you bring anybody over? It was just you?
No, they were all, they were pretty young guys. I was a little bit older than them, not much, but enough at that time to make a little bit of a difference. But still, I mean, we connected. I mean, they had Emilio was the leader of the band. And Rocco, they started playing music together. And so to keep Mimi off the streets and from being a weirdo, his dad got him music lessons. And so they started a band, and they called themselves a band from the very first day. They had instruments in their hands. I mean, how many people, do that sort of thing? Everybody's got to go to school and do all this other shit, and these guys, they're like, have a band the first night they got the instruments in their hands, So that was kind of the vibe. The Tower vibe was that,
That is really, really cool. So who were some of your influences? I'm sorry, Mike. I know you probably have some questions.
No.
Like favorite, who was your favorite drummer at the time? What drummer were you looking up to?
Well, don't laugh, but Sonny Payne with the Count Basie Orchestra.
How is that something to laugh at?
Well, I mean, it's stylistically, it's a little bit different than people would think, But I was really into all the big band stuff. I loved it. Woody Herman and, all of that. And Count Basie, my favorite Count Basie recording was called Breakfast, Dance, and Barbecue. And Sonny Payne is on it. And it's a live recording. I mean, it's badass. Yeah. And so, I saw them guys play. I saw Sonny Payne play with the Basie band. And what
was it called again? What was the name of it?
Breakfast, Dance, and Barbecue.
Okay.
And then there's also, Sinatra with, Basie, Live at the Sands. Come on, man.
That's Quincy directing on Live at the Sands. Yeah.
Serious music. And so I was into also, all the funk, all the James Brown. So I went to see James Brown. My friends took me to see James Brown, and that completely changed my life, really musically. So they were playing at the Civic Auditorium, San Jose Civic Auditorium here in the Bay Area. And James Brown used to come to the Bay Area all the time. He was here. He was on the radio. He was all on big venues, and he was here all the time, seemed like. every month he was playing somewhere. And so we go down to the show, and went in the afternoon, and we go up to the doors, me and my friends, and the doors open. We walk in, and they're rehearsing. James Brown Band is having a rehearsal. So we walk up to the stage. They let us hang out. We watched the whole thing. And then we saw the show that night. I'd never seen anything like that. Changed my whole life, musically, really, seeing that. And so then it became wanting to play the beats. I thought beats were about the coolest thing that you could do. The thing that I really dug about the James Brown thing was, and Michael can relate to this, is there wasn't a fill within 150 miles of the building. It was all just groove and beats and just nasty, just cool time, And I thought that was the greatest thing ever. So then, there was that. Then I got into, Bernard Purdie, because Purdie was with Aretha, and I had been listening to the recordings and all that stuff. And then after the first record that we did, where I was playing all 16th notes all the time on my hi-hat, I decided that, well, I want to break this up a little bit. And because I had heard Zig boo with the meters.
Yeah.
And I'm going, wait a minute.
Zigaboo.
Yeah, this is some other language right here.
Yeah, it's wrong.
So, yeah, totally. So I started getting into that, and and starting to break things up. Got into Latin music and was really influenced by that. Then that was Soul Vaccination and all that stuff. Was really influenced by Latin music. So learning how to play grooves and groove without a 2/4 backbeat, which is really kind of like a staple of the R&B thing. Have that flavor, so what Tower Power was really what it became. We started as like this kind of little R&B band, and idolized James Brown and Sly Stone and Dyke and the Blazers and all these people. But really what we ended up doing was being a band that had flavor. Everybody had all these influences. We had jazz heads in the band. It was like, really schooled, studied guys, and I was into Latin music and all, the Caribbean music, jazz, everything. So everything that I would study, I would kind of like put it in the Tower Power blender, and so it became flavor. That's what I thought about all the time was, how could I flavor this thing that I'm doing by something I'm studying or learning? Because I was always studying, always into different things. And I would always try to bring those things into the Tower, landscape.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me how much influence you've had on just a variety of drummers. Many drummers will label you in the top 5 of just influences, and I can't say that I blame them, because your impact on drumming and just in your style is, just incomparable. As in, nobody plays quite like you, has the same type of flavor. I
appreciate that.
Everybody has their own flavor, but you've got this.
So let me ask you a question here. Okay, Michael, let's talk about something here.
Oh, here we go.
Drop shot.
Oh, that's all you, man.
No, it ain't. It's you.
That's me trying to do you.
No, that's you doing you. That's one of the coolest tracks ever.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding, man. I love that thing. Ask Ricky. I talk to Ricky about it all the time.
He's like my older brother, but I'm scared to talk to him. Oh man. Wow.
Yeah, because when we were on the road with, we on the road with Sanborn, and because we had the same manager for a long time.
Yeah.
So we would do all these gigs together. And so Ricky and I were always talking every day, and I was always talking about drop shot all the time, and he would laugh and stuff.
I was sweating bullets that whole session.
That's good though.
Yeah.
That's good for you.
Well, thank you for the kind words, sir. I'll as a return serve, I'll let you know that the first time I heard about squib cakes was from an interview that Omar Hakim was giving to somebody. And he said, I went to the Performing Arts High School in New York, where all the drummers, if you couldn't play the intro to Squib Cakes, nobody wanted to mess with you. So then I was like, I gotta hear this song Squib Cakes. And then me and a friend of mine got back to Oakland on like cassette. And we sat in his dad's station wagon for about 2 hours trying to figure out the sticking. Like, how do you even do that? Like, we could listen for the first, it's the last bar of that whole, let's see, how many bars is that? Is it 4?
4. Yeah, it's 4.
That last, where like your hi-hat and your snare hand, like your right and left, like they reverse for a hot minute, man. Not to you, clearly, but to us, it was like he's reversing the function of everything. It was like he's using the kick drum like a snare drum. He's using the snare drum like a hi-hat. He's using that's how it sounded to us. We couldn't figure it out, man.
Yeah. Well, it's just language, man. You just say it the way that you hear it, and that's kind of what it was always like. I don't know. Are you guys familiar with that Stick People podcast that, with Greg Rico and those guys that I do?
I've seen bits and pieces on what is it?
Oh, it's really good.
Facebook Reels. Yeah.
It's really good. You're missing out. So it's Lenny White, Mike Clark, Greg Rico, Michael Shreve, and myself. And so we call ourselves
all dudes that influenced me greatly.
Okay, so listen. So we were all, here in the Bay Area in the early 70s. Lenny came out from New York and he had kind of his nose in the air a little bit. And then when he started seeing what we were doing around there, then he became one of us. Then he just dove right in, you know. And so what we would do is we would hang out and we would go to each other's gigs and we knew each other and, hung out, shedded sometimes together, but we would never, ever think of copying each other. That was like an unwritten rule. You do not copy, you do your own stuff,
Yeah.
Think about when you went to school and you learned to write, what, first, second grade, whatever it is, and the teacher teaches you block lettering and cursive lettering and all that stuff, and then teaches you how to do it, teaches you how to put words together and use that, and then teaches you phonetics, and then all of a sudden the teacher sort of backs away and you're doing it, right? And that becomes, your handwriting becomes your signature, not someone else's. It becomes your signature, how you view writing, how you view language, how you use language. And drumming is identical to this. It's exactly music. It's exactly the same thing. It's language. So if you think of styles of music as separate languages, jazz, funk, think of those two things. So there's dialects, fusion, language dialects, right? There's regional dialects. There's the way that they play the funk in Minneapolis. There's the way they play the funk in New Orleans. There's the way they play the funk, in Memphis. There's the way they play the funk in the Bay Area, So it's still the funk, but it's regional dialects. And so if you think of drumming and, just music in general as language, there you go. You're studying language. You're using language. You're using the tools that you were taught to create something with your voice. And so when you, sir, played Drop Shot, that was you using your concept of cursive lettering and block lettering, and you put together something that was totally yours.
I understand. Thank you for your correction.
You cannot argue with me.
I know that. That's why I said thank you for your correction.
Yes. Yes. That is
trying to argue with Dave Garibaldi.
No, man.
For those that don't know, Drop Shot is a song from Ricky Peterson's album, and it's called Drop Shot, and Michael's killed it.
Well, you say that again.
I mean, no, what about when you having to get out there without anybody yelling at me? I just
when you guys did that thing with the VDR big band too.
I didn't do anything with
that wasn't you doing that one?
No, that might have been either Kirk Johnson or I think even Cora Coleman might have done something with them also. but
Really?
not me.
It was a little
They
different.
called, but
It was a little different.
I never did that. I never did that.
Well, Michael, you said you were sweating bullets at that. David, there has to be a song or some type of performance that makes you sweat bullets. You're like, oh shit, how's this gonna go? Or at least when you were first learning it or just kind of conquering a song, is there anything that sticks out in your mind?
It really wasn't like that, man. I mean,
you're not challenged by anything.
Well,
I believe it.
No, it's like, this is what we were doing, like Tower Power was like, it was, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a very labor intensive sort of a thing. So we would rehearse every day. This is like, when I first joined them, we would rehearse every day. We would go play gigs, but it was a 7-day-a-week thing. And when we started touring, we'd come home, we'd take a day off, or sometimes we'd be in the rehearsal studio the next day after we got home. And it was this constant thing of always building the music, tweaking the music, trying different stuff. It was very fluid all the time. And it remained so all throughout the time that I was with them, And so there were periods where physically I had some difficulties because I had a kind of an accident and different things. And that really changed my ability to play at the highest level. It became really difficult.
One of the things that what he's referring to, and I'm hoping this image isn't triggering, but it is an image of the train that I guess this was a wreck that happened you guys got tussled up with a train back in 2017. It was you and Mark, the bassist. And can you tell us a little bit about the story of what happened here? I don't think I knew the whole story.
Well, we were we were doing our yearly residency at Yoshi's in Oakland. And Yoshi's is a really famous music venue in Oakland. Yeah. Been there for years. And we would do this residency every year. We'd come in there after Christmas and we'd play for a week. We do 2 shows a night. So we did 12 shows and we'd kill it in there. There were lines out. I mean, it was really a fabulous, fabulous gig. So on the last night, Mark and I met at the Waterfront Hotel, which is right across the street there from where that train track is, and at dinner. We come out of the restaurant and there's a train going by. Not this one, but there was a train going by, and we decided, well, let's walk down to the corner and, let the train pass and then, continue our conversation, because we could walk to this corner, walk across the street and go right to the backstage door. And so we were all excited, man. We were ready to get in there and deal. We had had a great week, and, band was playing at the highest level. I mean, it was just killing. And so the train goes by. We're at the corner. People are gathering behind us. We're going to cross the street. And we get out into you hear ding, 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 ding. The train goes by. And so we get out into the street and somebody yells behind us, train. And so Mark and I, we look to our left, and out of the shadows is coming that train right there. That looks like that. It's coming out of the shadows, and we couldn't get out of the way. We got hit.
Not in a car, as an individual pedestrian.
As a pedestrian, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So this is not comparable, but I was hit by a car when I was a teenager, and I remember walking out into the street, and I remember looking, and I remember seeing the car, and I remember that's all that I remember. The next thing I remember looking up. Was it something similar where your body just kind of goes into the shut off mode where you're just?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't experience any pain until afterward. I mean,
right.
I woke up on the street and the paramedics are, I moved my legs. The first thing I remember opening my eyes, and I moved my legs because I had my hips replaced a couple of years earlier. And I wanted to make sure that the shit was still working. So, that was working. And then the paramedics, they're going, "Sir, we're cutting your clothes off." And so they were like, literally, I had this nice jacket and nice shirt and all this stuff, you know, and they were
dressed
like,
for the gig.
Yeah, they were like, you know, slicing it off so that they could take me to the hospital. And then I passed out there on the street again, and then woke up in the hospital.
How long were you out of commission? Go ahead. I'm sorry, Michael. Go ahead.
No, I just wondered if you minded telling us what injuries you sustained.
Well, okay. See this right here? That little bump right there? I don't know if you can see it well. So I had this really bad, like traumatic brain injury.
Oh,
and so this whole right side of my face was all crushed. And so my eye, they rebuilt my eye, and my nose was completely crushed. So this little dent right here was some bone that they took out of here and put on the bridge of my nose. And then my jaw was broken. So my jaw was like sideways, kind of like this, you know, and a double vision. I have some broken ribs. What else? It was kind of weird, you know, because it felt like after I was recovering from it, it felt like, you know, if you take the right side or your body and you draw like a line right down the center like this, you know. Mm-hmm. So my right side felt completely tense. Like if you would just clench your fist as tight as you can, that's what my whole right side of my body felt like. Oh, boy. And then the left side of my body was completely relaxed. It was the craziest thing. And so, you know, I just had to do lots of rehab. And, you know, my buddy who's a doctor, he was there that night. And, you know, he came to the hospital with us that night, and he says to me, you know, you're going to be okay, man. You know, you're going to be fine. You don't have any, and he didn't know what the hell he was talking about. You know, he was just trying to make me feel good. So he says, you'll be okay, man. You'll be back to work before too long, you know. And given my state of affairs at the time, I'm going, you know, how is this even possible? I remember when I had been in the hospital for 10 days, I came home and I could hardly walk, you know. So this room I'm in right now, this is our TV room. Across the hall is the bedroom. So I could go, that was like this journey that took, I don't know how long it would take me to get from that room to this room. I'd kind of shuffle in here. My wife would feed me and, you know, change my clothes and all. I mean, it was just incredible. And so that's what it was like the first month or so. And then one morning I put my pants on by myself, and I'm going, oh, I'm getting better. That was my thought. I'm getting better. And from that moment on, I could just feel every day myself getting stronger and getting better and better and better. And so the accident was in January, and in October, I went back to work. I was still pretty messed up, but I went back to work, you know. And then when I got there, you know, I was so excited, you know, to be there, you know. I realized that as we start getting into stuff, that I had a few 16th notes missing, you know, from getting hit on the head, you know. So my coordination was all messed up, and I couldn't figure out really what was going on. I couldn't line everything up, you know, my hands and feet. And when I would cross my hands in a normal, you know, you play hi-hat snare the traditional way, I would get really confused when I'd cross my hands. So I had been using a second hi-hat for years, but it was kind of like a novelty, really. And, you know, so I would use it, you know, in certain songs and different things. And then I just kind of opened my hands and started using that hi-hat more. And I noticed that I wouldn't be as confused when I spread my hands open, and realized that, you know, that was something that really would help me, you know. So I opened my hands up, and then I kind of had to relearn all kinds of different stuff in the music, you know, kind of reorganize everything and reimagine a lot of the grooves and, you know, all that stuff, because I couldn't play it the same way, you know, as I did before.
Yeah.
So I just kind of, you know, reimagined everything. I made it a project. It was really kind of discouraging at first, you know. we were rehearsing for the 50th anniversary shows. This was 2018. And so we started in February. We had meetings and all this stuff. We decided, well, okay, we're going to do an orchestra. Cool. So we get in the week of rehearsal up in Sacramento, and Mimi is calling out the tunes. He's calling out the order of the songs we're going to play, because we had voted on songs what we wanted to play. And so I got all the charts. I made charts for myself just so I could have some organization. And I got them all out in front of me. He's calling out the names of the tunes, and I can't put them in order. I go, what is going on here? I could not put one in front of the other in the order that he called. So it was really discouraging. I told Mark and Roger about it, the bass player, Mark, and Roger, the keyboard player. I told them, man, this really sucks, man. I told them what was happening. So they said, well, don't worry about it. You're here. We want you here. You're here. We're all together. Don't worry about it. So I realized that they were in my corner. Yeah. And the only person that was really up my butt about it was me. And so I just made it a project. I made it a kind of a thing that I would work on, and made up my mind that I wasn't going to get discouraged. I refused to be discouraged. And I just started getting into it, and having fun and, rebuilding everything, practicing like a madman, like I always did. And, that sort of stuff. I never did get myself back to the level of I was before, but I sure had a lot of fun, and so, stuff like that. Now, let me tell you something about Mark. So Mark was really screwed up, even more so than me. He was in a coma for several weeks, and he had something going on in his esophagus that they couldn't figure out what it was. It's damage. And so the doctor that I told you about, his name is Russ Hands. He's retired now. Great drummer too. So he took Mark. He was the chief of surgery at 2 Kaiser hospitals out here. So he made sure that Mark got in one of those hospitals so that he could keep his eye on him and monitor his care. So they couldn't figure out what was wrong with him because he was in this coma. And so, there's a few more other details to it as well. But what happened was Dr. Russ, he found the solution to this problem on a doctor's database just as a hunch. And they tested Mark for it. That was the thing. And it saved his life.
Fantastic.
Pretty amazing.
So did he continue on? Did he come back to the band and everything?
Yeah, he's in it now.
I'm just saying, but how long afterwards?
We came back about the same time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we came back about the same time. It took a while, for us to get ourselves together, and
yeah.
I imagine.
I believe it.
Wow, that's amazing.
That's heavy, man. It's
a lot. But we're glad that you went back at it and started doing it. Now, you retired last year.
Yeah.
What was the reasoning for that decision to kind of make that move?
Well, honestly, the stress of having to try to keep my playing up at the highest level with, the kind of I was never the same after that accident, the stress of that and the touring schedule with Tower Power is we'd say you can't be a pussy if you want to be in a funk band. And so,
yeah, no,
yeah,
you got to work.
Yeah,
and so Tower Power, we were like work all the time, man. It was like we had years. It was like 200 dates a year. We averaged 150 for a long time. There was some 175 stuff like that, Yeah, and so that's how they want to do it. That's what they wanted to do, and it just wore me down. And I knew it too. We were in Europe in the summer of was it 2023, and we had a big Europe tour. We would always go to Europe. I mean, sometimes a couple times a year, and it was always great. Play all these great venues and festivals and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And this was no different. It was great, but I knew that the end was coming. I could feel it, And because I always kind of told myself, well, you're probably gonna know at some point, that it's here. And it came. And so by the time we did a Christmas tour, and we rehearsed, and we did all this stuff. And it was crazy schedule. I was just worn out. I couldn't do anymore. I knew it was when we played our last show. I think we were in Southern California, and we played the last note of What Is Hip. I knew that, okay, that's the last time I'm going to be doing this. And so, but it's cool. I mean, I just, I did it so long. I mean, so many gigs. We called it the Million Gig March. We had so many gigs and so many different cool things that we did.
Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, I kind of made my mark. I'm pretty happy about that. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, we
haven't scratched the surface there. You still have not made your mark, Dave Garibaldi. Your legacy has not been secured. No one's saying that, man.
Well, so that was your reasoning for retiring last year in January. Yeah. What was the reasoning? Because there was 1974 you stopped working with them too. Was it the same thing? Was it the same touring schedule thing?
No, because the first 4 times was because they were gangsters and little pimps, and they wanted to be crazy people. That was the whole thing.
You quit 4 times?
4 times. And so they were all like, they like dope and alcohol and craziness. And so, that little gangster life that they dug, I didn't like it. I thought I just didn't want to be part of it.
Is that why Lenny quit too?
Oh yeah.
I see. I met him once. Really nice guy.
Totally nice guy.
Yeah.
Great. Really unique singer, cool guy,
Yeah.
But it's just one of our sound engineers used to call us, he called it the Tower of Pimps and Hustlers.
TOPH?
Yeah.
All right.
So it was too much to deal with.
I feel
at the time. And so when I went back to the band for all those years, I came back in 98. I had moved back to the Bay Area, and I was doing stuff around here. I was pretty happy, and I think right before that, I had done a couple of years with Mickey Hart, in his band, Planet Drum and all that.
Yeah.
And I'd gone to see Tower a couple of times because the guitar player, Jeff Tamalier, was, that recording. So, and there was another one too called Mystery Box. But the Jeff Tamalier, the guitar player, he'd invite me to come to see the Tower play and all that stuff. And so, Herman was the drummer. They sounded really good.
Herman Matthews. Yeah. I was wondering how he was going to interpret the gig because I couldn't really imagine anybody else on it.
Herman was great. He just did his thing.
He certainly used his own language to get through.
Herman's a really great drummer. He can morph himself into a lot of different situations. He's very versatile.
Good singer too, right?
I never heard him. Well, yeah, he can sing.
I've heard that he's a singer as well.
Yeah, he can sing. But just a good dude and cool player and great guy to have in a band. So they had gone to Europe. And Herman decided that he was going to leave. And so I had been also working on, with Steve Kupka, Doc, with his thing. He had the Strokeland Super Band, he called it. And it was pretty cool. But, Rocco was in it. And I'm going, we're doing tracks. And I see Rocco doing his own overdubs and stuff. I'm going, what is this? And Doc is all clean and everything. So, they had cleaned up, and that's why when I went back to the band, that's the reason I stayed, is because they were all clean. So instead of, doing their usual cop dope before gigs and all that stuff, we would pray. And it was just a whole different vibe, a whole different thing. The focus was on the music and being together and having cool people in the band and all that, So it was a great, it was like 25 years. It was like the busiest 25 years of my freaking life. We had a suitcase packed all the time. We were going every place, man. It was really something,
Wow. That's amazing. There was a couple of people that I saw in your discography that I was like, I've never heard of them, and I don't really know much about them. Like, who is Rad?
Roseanne DiMolanta. She's been in Prince's band. She's played with Sheila E. now. She was in one of Prince's bands.
What does she play?
She's a keyboard player and a songwriter.
Awesome.
She's the deal, man. So she had this cool band. Her husband at the time was was a German guy, Michael Kirsch, and he was a producer. And so he produced her recordings, and we did tracks, and I did while I was in Tower, I did, like tours with her. We would, on off Tower times, we would go to Europe. I would go to Europe with her, and we would do Europe tours, and it was really a lot of fun. The band was killing.
Okay. I thought I knew, we're pretty very, very Prince heavy group here. I am not familiar with her. I'm sure there's going to be some, there's going to be some chat. There's going to be some chat people in here go, oh, how do you not know?
Right. You idiots. You don't know anything.
I'm not familiar with her. What wasn't it? Roseanne, what was it?
DiMolanta. She's from the Bay Area. Yeah, she's from the Bay Area. She's a Bay Area girl, and she can really sing. I think she's still living. She was living in Switzerland and lived there for a long time. I don't know if she's still there. She might still be there, but she's back and forth all the time. And she was also musical director for this Swiss singer, huge European artist named Seven, and she was his musical director. And she'd done orchestrating for television shows and all kinds of stuff. She's a bad girl,
Yeah.
And so she's with Sheila. She played in Sheila's band now.
Cool.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, and since we're on the Prince topic, this is easily, and you probably know this question is coming, this is easily the most requested question that we received, and it's regarding 777-9311.
Yeah,
I know you've gone down this road before, but you programmed some samples and whatnot for the Linn machine, not for specifically 777-90. What? Tell us the story.
Well, I'm not even clear about how it was, because this was like years and years ago. I did some stuff for the LinnDrum years ago, like way years ago, and never thought anything of it after that. For a while I was using LinnDrums, in studio work, because I was in Gino Vanelli's thing. And so I had these two LinnDrums, and one had percussion stuff on it. Those recordings there. Yeah, that Black Cars. That's when I first met him. And then there's another one called Big Dreamers Never Sleep. That's a really great one. And so it was like a mix of programming and live drums.
Mm-hmm.
So it was really, really cool, So, doing that, but Jelly Bean and all those guys tell me, "Oh yeah, man, you did it," and blah blah blah, and
you're like, I did what?
Yeah, did what? But I can't remember the guy's name, but there's a guy that actually did the programming, and the story's on Reverb, I think. He took some kind of ideas and moved them a 16th note and different stuff, and it's in the style that I play, but I didn't do it.
Is it? Well, are you talking about Bruce Forat by chance?
No.
Okay. Do you know Bruce Forat?
Well, there was the Forat brothers who invented the LinnDrums.
Right.
Or not the invented LinnDrums, but these guys they had a company in LA where everybody would take all their LinnDrums and they would soup them up.
Yeah, that's the guy I'm talking about, Bruce Forat. I had him do that to an MPC 3000 that I had. Yeah. He gave me 8 separate outputs. It came back painted what we called Razor Pimp Gold. Like it was the baddest MPC 3000. Everybody who'd come by the house would be like, they wouldn't want to like play it or like mess with it. They just look at it. Like, man, that is hot, man. It's like, it looks like it's made out of solid gold. So it's got to be the same people, because I think
Yeah,
he also used to put
it was
like
there was these two brothers.
Yeah, a basketball. He put a basketball on the top of the joystick for like NBA players who wanted an MPC 3000. Same. It's got to be the same guy.
Yeah. So these guys, I had one LinnDrum that, because I wanted to replicate like ghost notes and all that stuff, So I had them set up another like kind of like pot in the machine where I could have ghost notes and snare and ghosted notes, and I could ghost everything. And it was really, really cool the way that they did it. And so if you listen to Big Dreamer, do you play tracks on the show?
Yeah, we can. Yep.
So if you play anything off the Big Dreamers Never Sleep recording, you'll hear some of that stuff.
All right. Wow.
So the story is basically you did record some pieces for LinnDrum, but it was heavily modified. Susan Rogers, who's worked on many of Prince's biggest albums, said that the preset in the LinnDrum machine did specifically say it was a Garibaldi preset.
Yeah.
So, but the beat, as we know, 7779311 was not something that you did in any type of loop form on the LinnDrum machine.
No, they sort of like took, sort of like the Squib Cakes kind of idea and, that sort of concept, and just made a beat out of it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, this shit sounds so cool. I wish I could take credit for it, but I didn't. I can't.
Because many drummers have tried to learn that. 7779311 is like.
Yeah, J-Rod Sullivan.
Yes, bad dude.
He's a very bad dude, and he can play it. He's there's a YouTube clip of him playing it.
Yeah,
he's killing it.
I thought I knew how it went until Stokely Williams sat down and showed me. So it was like, whoa! And then by the time I got up my nerve to play it in front of Prince, he was like, "Oh, you know that beat?" And then he grabbed the bass, and then Sonny would play the guitar part on the bass, and Prince would play the bass part. So it just kind of ended up being a part of the show.
So cool, man.
Yeah, and you brought up Squib Cakes, and that was another clip that Mike, I don't know if you want to ask about this, but
I wanted to know, like, did anybody you do know that? I guess what is it? It's probably the second bar. When you start that part, Prince sampled that for a song called "Release It." I didn't know.
Release It, yeah. Levi Caesar is on there.
Yeah, Levi. I watched Levi do it. Actually, I watched him track, put the drums down, like the sample, and then pick up the bass and do that.
Yeah.
That's
it. Yeah, that's cool.
Were you compensated?
No.
Notified?
Notified? Yeah, notified.
No,
Chester on the record.
Chester probably made the money on that one because it's his song.
Because it's his composition.
Yeah.
Go
ahead.
No.
After I don't want to lose this thought. So if you've ever checked out a Tower of Power recording called the East Bay Archive.
Okay.
And there's an instrumental on there called Check It Out. That's the precursor to Squib Cakes.
Okay. We'll go look for it.
Yeah. And also, a lot of people don't know this, but that it was also used, pieces of it were also used in the Prince's song Sleep Around too, which was on his Emancipation album. It's actually used on that outro. So so Chester's doing well. For those who don't know, Chester Thompson used to play with Zappa, Weather Report. Just the laundry list.
We saw him playing with Santana at Rock in Rio in '91. Chester was playing rocking that Hammond with Santana. Pat Metheny was sitting in.
There's two Chester Thompsons. One's the drummer and one's the keyboard player.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
Mine's
not the drummer from Phil Collins's band and Genesis and all that.
Right.
Not Phil's guy. This is a completely different guy.
This is the keyboard player, CT, Chester Thompson.
Yep.
One of the baddest men. One of the baddest men and nicest men on the planet.
I think I might have gotten to meet him just for a hot second there at Rock in Rio, but yeah, it was, man. We went out, like 4 of us went just to see him play. Like, Santana's cool, but I want to see what Chester is doing. So we sat where we could see him real well.
When we played the Montreux Jazz Festival with Santana, and it was like he was the featured guest for the weekend, and so one of the nights we were, on one of the shows, and he wanted to sit in with us. So Chester came and played with us, and those guys, Carl Parasso and those guys in Carlos' band, they had never seen CT really play in that element. Mm-hmm. They about soiled themselves when they saw him.
He plays different with you guys.
Yeah,
because you guys are that's his music.
That's his home base,
Yeah,
so
he played different with y'all.
It was just like, you riding a bicycle. You never forget how to do that thing,
Mm-hmm.
And he sat down, man. It's on YouTube. It's amazing.
I'll be going there as soon as we get off the air, man. I'm checking it all out, brother.
Now, you love to teach. You do a lot of teaching, and you're really, really good at it. I've watched some of your teaching stuff online. I mean, if younger drummers like study your work today, I mean, what do you hope that they really take away? I mean, what is like the one thing that you see that's like the biggest hurdle for most drummers that are drumming today?
Well, for me, I mean, I call what I do kind of like, it's either disciplined, undisciplined, or disciplined, undisciplined, one of the two, so it's kind of, it's all about creating, and so all my books, and all of that stuff, it's just really a sort of designed to show people what they can do, that they can create, because really this is about art. It's art, no more, no less, creating. And so you're not going to take a sheet of exercises on your gig. You're going to take concept to your gig, Mm-hmm. And so, Michael, when you say Drop Shot was me and all that, it's you, you took concept and you created something cool with concept. And that's the thing that I work on with people all the time. It's music is concept, and you learn how to create. And so you take the things that you learn and then you create with it. And so that's kind of the biggest thing that, that I do with people is I teach people, how to be themselves, that it's important to be yourself. I mean, when I first started with Tower and all that stuff and, wanted to have my own voice, I didn't want to copy anybody. To me, that was like the worst thing you could do was copy someone. You have to initially to learn different things, but then, you want to take those things and you go out and do your own stuff with them. You create things with them. Yeah. And so the thing that I always stress is to be yourself, and that's, never out of style, you never go ahead.
Is Mike Clark's style a little too close for comfort, or do you hear him and you hear nothing of what you're doing?
No, I hear Mike. I hear Mike. Because Mike. You've heard Mike play all the straight ahead stuff. I mean, he sounded like that when we first met. He had that kind of sound in his playing, that straight ahead thing.
I got that, but I wasn't introduced to him through the straight ahead. I heard him on.
Yeah.
All
I'm telling you is that, there were other guys in the Bay Area too. There was Gaylord Birch. There was a guy named Sam Cox. Yeah. There was, Harvey Hughes. There was a bunch of dudes that could really play, man, that had their own sort of vibe, and they were just like jazz drummers, except they were playing the funk and creating with it. It was cool. Right.
Man. Well, let me ask the next question, Chris, because you've been
go ahead. No, I know.
Dominating for the last 30, 40 minutes, man. You got a brother say a few things.
You do you, boo.
All right, man. So, who are your favorite cats? Living or dead? Just give me like 5. It doesn't, and they don't have to be ranked in any particular way.
Well, there's, like Sonny Payne.
Yeah, who you mentioned.
Jake Hanna with the Woody Herman Band.
Yeah.
Elvin Jones, Tony Williams, Zig, Purdy.
Yeah, I guess it's wow.
Gregorico, So there were guys that I like that who to me were and all the James Brown guys, of course, Clyde Stubblefield. So I just I heard all those things and I just tried to make one drummer out of it. Me, I tried to make me out of all the things that I was hearing, And so I didn't invent this shit at all. All I did was step out there with a way that I saw it, with my art. That's what I did. And so you listen to, Clyde playing, that I Got the Feeling. That was 1968. Hello.
Yeah, I forget sometimes.
Yeah, don't. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? I mean,
yeah.
So he was like really one of the architects of that vocabulary,
Sure.
Earl Palmer, another guy.
Oh, man, you're killing me, man.
Played with Little Richard and all that stuff. And one of the first
I met him right before he died. I met Earl.
Oh, he was the sweetest man. I mean,
he was so nice.
He was totally cool. And the cool thing, interesting, he knew what everybody was doing. He knew all the players. He knew what they were doing. He knew what they were bringing to the art, all this stuff. He was complete. He had his ear to the ground. He knew exactly what was going on.
Earl was so bad, man.
He was a totally bad dude. And he was like a studio guy too. He played in the studios, He was like
he played. Did he cut with Fats Domino also?
Well, I mean, he may have. He did all that Little Richard stuff, like that. All the Little Richard stuff. He was doing that.
Oh man, you know what the track that kills me is
Gary U.S. Bonds. He was doing U.S. Bonds. Yeah. Quarter to 3. I think he was the drummer on Quarter to 3.
Ah. Wow, man, you tripping me out. Okay. All right. Wow, man.
Good stuff.
Any gigs you ever have fall in your lap that you went, no thanks?
Yeah.
Can you tell me just one of the gigs you turned down?
Well,
you don't have to tell me why.
I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you why right now. So right after I left Tower, I had gotten a couple offers for things, and one was like right before I left was to do the Seth Meyers show for a week, in New York, the TV show,
Sure.
And then there's a guy that in New Zealand named Roger Fox, he was an educator there. He's passed away in the last couple of years, but he was an educator in New Zealand and a promoter. He brought Tower Power to New Zealand and played trombone. And he was a really, really great musician. And he had a big band and he wanted me to come and play, but, they wanted to do Tower stuff and these kind of things, and with the Seth Meyers thing, it's kind of like Tower influenced. And, I never dug playing that music with anybody else.
Yeah.
It never was the same, I mean, so, and I respectfully, I just had to bow out of those things, for that reason,
I get it. No, you have to respect your own legacy, man. You can't just, that's very.
It was just it was a little too much, So for that year, I just kind of chilled. I just did very few things. I taught and just chilled and hung out and, re-energized myself.
I got you, man. And it's interesting that, like I resonate particularly with a few things that you've said in some parts of your life. I actually, I have I had an accident that also affected the way that I played. I stepped off of a bridge in the Mexican jungle and ended up flat on my back. I hyperextended the tendon that connects the quadricep, like across the knee. This is my right leg.
Oh.
And Yeah, it was a.
When did you do that? How long ago?
This is probably 1998.
Oh, that's pretty recent.
Yeah. Well, it's a fair amount of time ago. Yeah, I mean, but it didn't encumber me from continuing to play. But I don't. But you know, I went to see a specialist, and there was some talk about like, well, you know, we should if we're going to operate, we should do it soon. This and that. And I tried to explain to the physician, I'm like, listen, I'm a drummer, so you know, my range of motion is really important. Like, I need to know what the odds are that this is going to go, you know, the right way, because it's my life, man.
Yeah, sure.
You know, and they really couldn't ensure, you know, what kind of results I was going to get. And also, it was like 6-7 months healing time. I was like, I can't afford to take that much time off, man. I can't. Like, I was on crutches with Shaka Khan in Turkey with the crutches to the drums, you know, like I couldn't even stop to really heal correctly. I kept working the whole time. And, you know, so it's a condition I kind of live with now, you know, and it's actually one of my legs, my right leg is a little longer than my left. And I'm right-handed on the drums, obviously. So it affected a lot of the strength that I could build up, you know, a lot of torque I could get on the kick drum. So I had to really modify my technique, and it's never been quite what it was, you know.
Didn't affect your groove, though, I'll tell you that.
Well, you feel how you feel. Your groove is your face. I mean, I can't really stomp, but I can lift it and bring it down.
Well, let me tell you something. So that Prince tune, that Get Wild thing that you guys did, with the girl dancer and all that stuff.
Yeah,
yeah.
Man, come on,
Dave, don't do it.
That's
don't do it, man.
that is beast level, man. It's so great.
I'm not gonna cry on the air. You can't make me cry, Dave Garibaldi.
I'll be doing that, man, because that's just great.
I'm not gonna do it. And let me tell you something about
that. Great vibe, man.
When we played that song on this English show called The White Room Show, we played that song, and I look back at it and I think to myself, it was just like every other day in our life. We didn't think anything different about it. There's cameras, like we were rehearsed so well and we played so much that we didn't even really think that one situation was different than the next. We just, kill.
Understood. Yeah.
That's kind of how Prince programmed us to
I understand that.
You know what I mean? It was like being a Manchurian candidate. Just
I understand. Yeah, man.
Yeah. Crazy.
Did you ever get an opportunity to meet Prince and ever talk with him at all?
Yeah. Yeah. He would come to Tower Power shows at the Minneapolis Zoo.
The Dakota.
We come there too. He would sit up in the balcony up there, and but he'd come to the zoo. We do those summer gigs at the zoo, which were really a lot of fun. And he would come and stand behind the speakers and watch.
Yeah, he loved him some Tower Power, man.
And he came and introduced himself to me one night, and I didn't realize, how small he was, really. I mean, I felt like, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when he's like shaking hands with me and, looking down at this guy, It was just really, what an honor, man, to have him there. And, it's so slick, man.
Yes. Diminutive in stature, but a giant.
Oh, come on.
He was ridiculous. A giant.
Yeah.
Without question, man.
Yeah.
Without question.
Yeah. Wow. Same thing where when I first met him too, it was like I was holding him in this regard, for decades, just watching him on stage and watching him on TV. And the first time I met him, it was the same impact. It was just like, I didn't realize that you were so short. Yeah. I felt the same way. It was just like, but you can't, you cannot mess with that dude, man.
You don't think of him like that,
no,
exactly.
The first time that I met Elvin Jones, was at a NAMM show, and we took a picture together, and he was shorter than me, and I couldn't believe it. I mean, here I'm picturing this guy, this monster guy, man, who can do all of this. He does such great drumming and
But was he also 80 by the time you did this?
No,
he may have been on the shrink by then.
No.
Okay.
I mean, I got pictures of it, you know. I mean, it was so cool, you know.
I got you. I had a different experience seeing Elvin. I was at a thing for the NAMM show. And it was a bunch of Yamaha drummers back in the corner. And wow. I'm trying to remember who all I saw there. It was like Dave Weckl and what's the dude? The roster. If I'm surprised you weren't there. Actually,
I may have been.
You might have been, but Elvin came walking in with a woman on his arm, and he had like a gold Nehru jacket on with a big gold medallion, man. And everybody stopped like the Pope came in the room. It was incredible how much respect.
Yeah, man.
And I thought, yes, give that man his respect. He's one of the greatest of all time.
You know, there was a clinic that he did in LA once. I think it was at a PAS thing in LA.
Okay.
It might have been PAS, but it was a clinic that he did. And the room was full. And he didn't do very much playing. He talked, you know. But the place the vibe was so amazing, man. I remember the stage being lit. The room's really dark. It's full. All the bad dudes are in there. And here's Elvin up there talking about his life and all this other stuff. And he'd play a little bit, you know, but really nobody cared if he played. They just wanted to see him and hear him talk and
oh yes,
and all absolutely. That stuff, you know.
No, it was like a deity walking in the room, man.
Yeah, man.
I was so happy for him that he was around people who really appreciated his contribution. Yeah. Like what he meant to every drummer in that room, man. I mean, a lot of us just sort of felt silent, but some of the older cats like Rick Murata or those guys, they walked right up to him. I was like, I can't, you know. Not that I didn't feel worthy, but I was just like, you know.
It was super friendly, you know. So it was like super friendly. And so, you know, there's a guy in Seattle, Don Bennett, who had a drum shop there for years. And now he's got an online thing, sells vintage gear and all this. And so he bought a lot of Elvin's stuff. And so I was at his warehouse up in Seattle, and he had this bin, like, you know, those plastic bins full of Elvin's drumsticks and brushes, the used stuff. You know, Elvin kept all that stuff. I mean, sticks that are all beat, the brushes look like this, you know, just like the pictures you see, right?
Yeah.
And so he says, you want a couple pairs? So he gave me some pairs of Elvin's sticks and brushes. I have them out in my garage where I keep some of my gear. It's amazing, man, to have those things in your hand. This is like Elvin used this stuff, you know, and the brushes, they're all like looking like claws and everything. Stunning.
Wow, man. Oh, wow.
That's super cool.
So cool.
We have a question from the audience from Crystal Lawler. Says, love to hear what you thought about working with. Love to hear what thought about working with Boss Skaggs.
Boss Skaggs. I did one tour with him, and it was we went to Texas, and I mean, that was the only time I was in his band, was that. But you know, we did gigs with Tower. Mm-hmm. We did gigs with him when he was the Boss Skaggs Blues Band, you know, back in the day, and that was, you know, it was cool. It was a lot of fun, you know. But
that's funny. I actually. Boz's manager tried to hire me, to go out once, and I was like, I wasn't in the space where it was like I just didn't feel like that was what I wanted to be doing at that moment. But what was really amusing was later on I find out the same guy managed Steely Dan, and I got a sideways call about a potential session from the same dude. I said no to the Boss Skaggs tour, but then he calls back about Donald. And I was like, all right, well, yeah, man. You never know where your blessings are going to come from. It didn't actually happen, but it was nice to be considered.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting to hear you behind Donald Fagen. For sure.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll pay to see that. That was really cool.
Dennis's stories, it's like you better play. You better not outshine. You better not step all over Donald, because Donald don't like that.
I just got done watching a documentary on Asia, and they were talking about how many drummers that they would go through in like a recording session. It was just like, wow, you guys are looking for something really specific.
That was a little excessive, but that's what they did.
Yeah, that's their thing. And you know what? I would have been ready for it by then, because I did a lot of that sort of thing with Prince. I would replace drums on old tracks all the time, only because I had the intuition to kind of, I had developed the ability to play the track. Even if I was replacing old drums, it sounded like I was there first.
Yeah, sure.
I just you start to, if you go through something enough times, it's like, oh, I see the bass player is doing this here. So instead of going with him, I'm just gonna play neutral and like just play in a way to like better group everybody together. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Sure.
More cohesion somehow.
Yeah.
I somehow I have the ability to do that, but then I ended up having to do it a lot because Prince found out I could do it.
That's cool. That's super cool.
It's hard work, but
who else was good at that? There was like, when I lived in LA, there was a guy, John Guerin.
Yes, I've heard of John Guerin.
LA Express.
Yes.
Well, John Guerin was a legendary session guy in LA. All the a lot of other people didn't know about him, but all the musicians did, because he could play every kind of music, and he was great in the studio. And he did all the drums on that Bird movie.
Oh, wow.
Replacing all the, they took the Charlie Parker tracks and they, put drums on them.
Oh, man.
That was John Guerin. That was John Guerin, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because when I lived in LA, I auditioned for the Merv Griffin show one time. So there was all these drummers that were auditioning for Merv Griffin. And so the audition was 2 shows live on the air. And so, you have to go and you got to read the book and all this stuff and do it just like the studio guys do. And so it was pretty fun. I mean, it was a little intimidating, but it was fun nonetheless. The conductor was Mort Lindsay, really famous, LA studio conductor, TV show conductor, right? And so after I do the shows, he calls me in his office and we're talking and all that stuff. And he says, John Guerin's coming back to town. I think I'm going to try him out here, give him a shot at this, because he had been in and out of the studio life, a couple, 3 times, for different offenses, I guess. And, so he ended up getting the gig,
I see.
But if you're going to lose, a gig to somebody, he's the guy to lose it to, because he was the man. Amazing guy, amazing musician. John Guerin. Played all that Michael Frank stuff. Sleeping Gypsy, great Michael Frank's recording.
I'm not as familiar with Michael Frank's, but
that's pretty cool.
Okay.
Cool stuff.
Man. So you've done so many teaching videos, and I wanted to try something. This is going to be completely experimental. So I picked out a few video clips from some drumming masters of probably what many would consider their highlight drum solos. And obviously for non-drummers like myself, admittedly, sometimes maybe we just can't see the genius in what it is that they're doing, or what, kind of groundbreaking techniques that they're kind of bringing to the table. So I just want to play a few quick clips and have you, hopefully maybe one of you two, be able to kind of explain what the significance of these solos are.
This is not some trick shit here, right? This is like, we're really doing this.
Okay. We're really doing this. We're really doing this.
And I had nothing to do with it, Dave. So.
Yes. So if there's anybody to blame,
we can both talk about him later.
Okay.
Want.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah, I can't believe he did that, man. Yeah, what a
all right.
John Turkey.
Let's start with this one. Let's start with
I didn't put him up to this.
You did not. I didn't even go into detail about what I was about to do. But
I haven't even seen it. So
let's start here. Let's start here with Joe Morello from the Dave Brubeck Quartet.
Wow.
Plenty of iconic moments, but obviously this is a clip from Take 5 solo. Let's watch this together, and then you kind of dissect this for us. Obviously, that
was so cold.
Holy man!
Woo!
And you notice he's playing with the sticks at the butt end of the sticks too.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
so
come on.
So what are some of the things that non-drummers are missing? Obviously, even if you watch as a non-drum, you're like, holy cow, that is just unreal. But what are some of the dynamic little pieces that non-drummers would probably miss on that? Well, the buttons that you just mentioned. There's a lot there.
I don't know. It's just I'd have to listen to more of it to listen to the context of it. I'd want to hear how he gets into it, and because the solo sounds like it's kind of joined in the middle. You're kind of cutting in.
You cut to the flashy part. We don't know where he came from. He was developing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay.
That's all.
I mean, he was really great at building his solo and very musical. There's that one song that Brubeck Castilian drums that's got a beautiful drum solo on it, and so he played very musically. Really cool, great hand technique, cool stuff, man.
Yeah, I counted all the way through. I was like, oh, it's take 5. I just kept counting and watching his hands, man. I'm like, this dude, he didn't miss nothing.
No, that's really amazing.
Man,
so cool. Yeah,
so in there.
Yeah, he was definitely a rocket. Now, were either of you familiar? Maybe you were. I mean, obviously you're drummers, but I grew up listening to the Carpenters, but for whatever reason, I did not know that Karen Carpenter was a drummer as well. For whatever reason, I did not know that. And but I found a clip of her playing, and I was kind of curious as to what your takeaway was. This little clip here. It's just a 30-second clip, so that's this one here. I totally missed that part of her career for sure.
I don't know how you did. Even in the videos, they had her on the drums sometimes.
I didn't think I ever watched the videos with her on them. I think I only ever heard her on the radio. Okay. We didn't really watch a lot of late night TV or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I know that I'm not alone, but I mean, it's just wow. She was pretty little formidable drummer there. But
permit me to say that was from the time when Buddy Rich ruled everything. And that's how she's playing. She's kind of playing like, okay, that's what Buddy does. So it's that's the feeling I get when I see what she's doing. It's like, when I hear what she's doing, it's like, okay, Buddy Rich kind of had he probably got his business on everybody around that time a little bit.
She was cool. I mean, that sounds really cool to me. I mean,
she's clocking, she's doing everything she's supposed to be doing.
Absolutely. So she got playing time with her hi-hat and stuff, I mean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's cool. All right, we only got one more for you. This is another 30-second one. One more for you. Check this one out. You guys familiar with that one?
Don't embarrass me in front of David Garibaldi, man.
That's some pretty cool stuff right there. Great drum sound, man. I mean, a nice fat fills, and I mean, come on, man. That's great.
It is. I don't know. I don't understand why you're so hard on yourself on that one, because it is so iconic. And even when I wish you had been there, David, because they played that live. Was a week, two weekends ago now, and it was just it was the whole crowd just lost it the second that he went into it. I mean, it's like it's one of his iconic solos, man. It's just
good stuff, man.
Come on, man. It's all the good stuff.
You know what? And I realized that night that actually I feel the same way about Prince's music that Dave feels about Tower of Power. The reason when I do it, it's got to be some of those actual people present. I can't play Prince's music with a bunch of strangers who didn't have any idea what it was really like. They don't really understand how that music works. A lot of science and focus went into that.
Yeah, I got you. I understand.
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying when you're like, I don't really want to do Tower stuff with somebody who ain't Tower.
Yeah.
I
say that too respectfully to everyone, because people like Tower and all that stuff, and which I'm honored, So, but
it's not Tower.
Just like Michael said it, it's
I got yes, that's it.
There's just no equivalent to it. Yeah, I mean, it's just the reality.
Also, those are his. It's being in a band is almost like being in like a small army. It's like you really develop. The bond goes deeper because people don't understand the power of music. I mean, it's people think, oh, it's just vibrations and frequencies and whatnot. That's what the whole universe is. It's vibrations and frequencies and whatnot. Like, it's if you're serious about music, and if you really are in it for, all the right reasons, it's really. It's not religious necessarily, but it's something to be sought after other than just, making a living and leading a nice life. It's something you're devoted to that you can never master, but you have to constantly be trying 100%. If, in some way, shape or form. I don't believe in you being retired, Dave. I believe you might have stopped playing drums, but you're not retired.
Well, I didn't stop playing the drums. That's for sure. I mean, I'm still playing.
You just retired from Tower Power.
I just retired from Tower Power.
Oh,
so
well, that's great.
Yeah. So,
fantastic. I was under the impression that maybe you were only.
No, I got stuff going on. I've been doing some recording, doing some gigs with some guys in Hawaii that are really fantastic. So, I
okay.
got
yes.
Got my book project I'm doing, where it's just pretty cool. A lot of playing involved in that thing. So
glad to hear it, man.
What is the book project?
Oh, I'm doing another drum book.
Another drum book. Okay.
I do these books, these drum books, which are really a lot of fun to do, and so.
And I still can't read them.
So I got another one that's coming. I just started. I've been putting it together since I left Tower. Really, and so now I'm kind of baking it.
Sure. Yeah. Can I ask you another question, Dave?
Yes, sir.
We have some local drum legends in Minnesota. I wonder if you might have ever heard of a guy named Marv Dahlgren.
Yeah. 4-way coordination. Yeah.
Yes. Okay, man. What about Elliot Fine?
Yeah.
Okay, man. All right. It's all the same for all of us. Like the doctrine is the doctrine. We go through the same same books. Ted Reed, Syncopation. Portraits in Rhythm, Anthony Cerrone.
Yep.
Like, are you like, I guess you write your own books, so I guess you probably,
Well, those guys, like Anthony Cerrone, teaches at San Jose State.
Had no idea. I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah. So, he's still teaching, that kind of thing. And then with Tower, we did some Journey tours, and Steve Miller was on it, and Gordy Knudsen was the drummer.
Yes.
It was Gordy. Steve and Gordy, man.
Gordy's incredible. He's incredible right now.
He's a bad dude, man.
Yes, absolutely. Without question. Gordy is one of the cats who showed me where the line was.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what you have to shoot for. You got to be that good if you expect anybody to call you.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Oh, David, we want to be respectful of your time, and thank you so much for coming on and sharing so much and clearing up, obviously, a lot of questions that people had. And it's kind of sad that you're no longer, doing the Tower Power thing, but we realize you're kind of in a new phase. And, what's the best place for people to keep up with what's going on with you?
Well, I don't know that there is one, because I really dig being under the radar. So
okay.
It's kind of nice, really, that I don't have to be on social media all the time and telling people what I'm doing and all that stuff, but I don't know what to say, man. I mean, I didn't know we were gonna, you were not gonna play any music. I could have sent you some stuff to play so you could be listening to some stuff, some of that Roseanne DiMolanta stuff.
Oh, sure.
A couple things.
Feel free to send it. We'll be asking you for another interview in a few months. So,
well, certainly what we can do. I mean, we have a very large following. We would be more than happy to share some of that stuff with our social media people and just just a Garibaldi pick of the week type of thing. We could, absolutely, absolutely.
By the way, Dave, I forgot to mention I have 2 of your signature snares, and every drummer in the city has tried to buy one of them off me. Your snare was the best of those signature series Yamaha snares.
I would have to say yes. I would agree with you.
It's the best sounding, man.
They even said so.
Who said it?
They even said so.
Yeah. Yamaha. Okay. Good. Then they knew. And actually, after Magoo left me, he was working for Quest for a while. He was working for Questlove, and Quest asked Magoo to ask me, what's that snare drum he's rocking? And I told him, this is a Garibaldi signature snare, man. And I looked up, and he was on TV playing one of them.
Yeah, is it no longer available?
No, they discontinued. They discontinued all the signature snares.
Yeah,
so everybody's got shut down.
I got as many as I could before they shut down.
There was a bunch of really good ones that they had, a lot of guys had some cool snare drums out.
Yeah. I use the Steve Jordan signature snare a lot, actually.
That's a good one.
But I saw him playing it with the wood hoops, so I called whoever it was I think it was Joe Testa at the time. And I said, Joe, I saw Steve play it and he had wooden hoops. He said, yeah, well, we didn't make those for, those aren't available for retail. I said, yeah, but those are Japanese people. So I bet you there's another pair. They wouldn't make one pair and stop. I said, can you at least check the factory? And sure enough, they were laying somewhere, and they sent me the wood hoops for the drum. It sounds so much better to me with the wooden hoops. I know Jordan now, and I still haven't told him.
That's great. That's great. Man, that's great.
Yeah, definitely. Dave, you're an icon in my world, man.
Oh, you're nice, man. I appreciate it.
You gave me homework too. Got to look up Roseanne DiMolanta, Breakfast, Dance, and Barbecue, Live at the Sands.
There's all kind of other stuff too. There's all kind of other stuff too.
So, sure. Don't forget the Gino Vanelli. Yeah,
the Gino Vanelli stuff. But don't be telling people that I'm not playing the drums anymore. Don't be doing that.
Oh, definitely. No. I'm happy to hear that you still. I'll tell anybody who asks. Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
he's doing it.
Once a drummer, always a drummer. Come on. I mean,
I was going to say that maybe you had fallen out of the brotherhood, but no. You just diversified.
No.
You're there, man.
No.
You're there, brother.
And we're glad to hear it. We're glad to hear it.
Absolutely.
It's all good.
Oh my gosh. All right. So I will be in touch with you to find out what the Garibaldi pick of the week is going to be for, and we're going to put it out there. Make sure that everybody does their homework. We'll do that. We'll do that.
Oh man, how cool!
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
All right, fellas. Yes. So we've done it.
We've done it.
We've done it. Right. We've got it. Yeah. All right.
All right, everybody. It's the one, the only, the Master Tower of Power from now he's just doing the David Garibaldi thing. Yeah. You'll find out.
David Garibaldi is David Garibaldi. Whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do, brother, you do it. That's right. Strong J, Strong J.
All right. So I'm supposed to say goodbye now, yeah?
Yeah, all right.
All right.
We'll see you later. We'll be in touch with you.
Go get some rest, y'all. See ya.